Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the HazMat podcast, episode number 8. Now, today we're going to be talking about why is asbestos removal so damn expensive. And there's plenty of times I have quoted jobs and have had to warn clients to make sure they're seated before they receive the quote. Because in general, a lot of people don't really know how much goes into an asbestos removal job, whether it's a big one or a small job. There are a lot of factors that, all add up, and it makes for quite a meaty invoice at the end. So we're going to just break it down a little bit. I'm not going to go into specific figures. It's all commercially sensitive, obviously, but needless to say, I will at least justify why there is a lot of extra cost there than what a normal removal job would be without asbestos being in the way. And I think we'll talk about mainly the A Class asbestos removal, or they call Friable asbestos removal, which is the more, in general, very much in general, but the more removals inside your home, your vinyl flooring or textured ceiling or pipe lagging, things like that. So anyway, we'll start from the beginning, and we look at number one. The biggest cost factor in a job for asbestos removal would be labour. Now we have labourers, or we call them removalists. They are removalists. They are qualified or accredited at least to do that type of removal work, meaning they've undergone training, specialised training for this industry, and they're also working in a dangerous environment. So, as you could imagine, you have to pay them more, and you should. But your general labourer outside doing an odd job is probably going to be a bit cheaper than an asbestos removalist doing their work. So you've got that to factor in right off the bat. Number two, if we're talking about A-class removals or friable asbestos removal, our regulations here in New Zealand clearly state that a supervisor must be on duty at all times during that removal. So again, an asbestos removal supervisor who has the A-class or friable removal accreditation is, they cost a bit of money to pay, and they should. It shows that they have undertaken a lot of previous work to get that experience, and then again they've been certified. They've had to do a course in provision of asbestos removal, plus also have to show a lot of evidence of previous work they've done just to get that accreditation. So you've got your supervisor there automatically, plus your removal staff, and they were paying over the odds for those guys just in comparison to general removal work, general work without asbestos being involved. Number two, the materials that we use. We use a lot of materials in asbestos removal, and most of the time, the materials we use have to be all thrown out, as you could imagine. Everything, a lot of the things are disposable. So our plastic sheeting that we use to catch debris or to line the walls of your home or the floor of your home or the ceiling of your home, depending on what we're removing, there's a lot of plastic in there, plastic sheeting and tape, again, duct tape or cloth tape used to secure that sheeting. Of course, that's used once and then biffed out. The sheeting's biffed out. The asbestos waste bags that we put the material into, that all has to go. You can't reuse those kind of things. The safety equipment, what we call PPE or personal protective equipment that our removal staff wear, is all one-time use only. And a lot of the time, that's not one time per day. That's one time per time. As in, if you need to go to the toilet or you need to take your lunch break or what have you, what you're wearing, your overalls, your gloves, those kind of things, sometimes booties or boot covers, they have to be turfed out. You can't put them back on again because there's a good risk that they're contaminated with asbestos. So just going back to materials, we use a lot of things one time only and then it's biffed. So again, your material cost in comparison to a general job is a lot higher, a lot higher. Probably the next category we'll talk about is the equipment. We use in asbestos removal a lot of things like vacuums, H class or HEPA filtered vacuum cleaners, and they need to be regularly serviced and certified. Again, there's additional cost with that. It's not like your vacuum at home. We're paying every 6 months to have these things inspected and recertified and serviced as well. So using our equipment, it adds up pretty quickly. Not to mention just general vehicle use, trailers, fuel cost, road user charges here in New Zealand, things like that. So your equipment cost. I forgot to mention negative air pressure units. We use those, and during A-class removal jobs, they have to be switched on constantly. And similar to vacuums, they need to be regularly inspected and certified as well. So the gear we use is a lot more expensive. The next thing is disposal. We can't, as I mentioned in a previous episode, we can't just put this out with the regular garbage. We have to take this material to a tip. We pay an additional fee because it's deemed to be hazardous waste, because obviously it is. And so you're paying a lot more to dump asbestos when you've done your removal work than what you would normally. Keeping in mind also, in a lot of cases, the material that we're getting rid of, the asbestos, has to be done mechanically. And what I mean by that is a truck, usually a flatbed truck with a crane or some type of lifting mechanism on it. I know it personally as a HIAB, but some sort of crane truck to drive up to the rubbish dump, go to the waste area and lift the whole bag of asbestos off in one go mechanically. So you're keeping people out of harm's way. So there's an additional cost there with disposal as well. Now, with A-class or friable asbestos removal, it's mandated in our regulations here in New Zealand. They must be monitored and basically signed off or clearanced, what we call clearancing, by an accredited asbestos assessor. So whether we're doing a small job or a big job, we need to bring in a third party, has to be involved in actually verifying that the removal job is done safely and that at the end it meets the criteria to certify that it's completed and it's now safe. This is in the form of them coming every day, generally during your removal, and putting out air pumps. They'll put air pumps in the background to take readings of the air and take them to the lab and get analysed to check if there is dust or debris escaping from where we're removing it. Obviously, in a job, you don't want things floating through your house when you're in the kitchen pulling up the vinyl floor. You don't want that those fibers to end up down in the hallway or the bedroom. So that is another measure of maintaining safety. You might find out about it after the fact, but at least you've got time to then address that appropriately. So we've got the assessors involved, daily air monitoring while you're doing your removal. And then, of course, when you finish the job, they'll take a number of samples to verify that it has been done 100%. And they need to be taken to the lab and analysed, and that all costs money. On top of the testing that the assessor will do, they also will compile a report. We call a clearance certificate in general, but a report to basically give to your client to say, hey, these guys have done the job, it meets the regulations, and we took all of these tests and they've come back at an acceptable level, and we now certify that the area is safe to inhabit. So just on those basic fact is that there's a good reason why, or how we can explain why a quote from an asbestos removal contractor can be a lot more than what you might anticipate if you don't understand how the removal process works. Also, keeping in mind, a lot of the time when you remove asbestos, you generally have to put something back. You know, if we pull a ceiling down or rip a floor up, well, that's half of the equation. But now you've also got to pay to have the new material installed, a nice new ceiling or a nice new flooring system or whatever it might be. So not just the removal can be expensive, but you've also got the replacement work. Just on top of all of those things, obviously, a removal contractor has overheads as well that they need to serve, and that will find its way into your quotation as well, because we have yards to store our equipment, we have insurance premiums, we have warrant of fitness for our vehicles and things of that nature. We have to pay rent, we have to pay for internet, for photocopiers, everything else, for managers. So again, just another reason why, and I'm sure every company has overheads and they do on charge them to clients because that's how they do business. But that's just another reason why your quote ends up as enlarged as it may be, just compared to a normal job of a couple of blokes coming in and removing your material if it's not asbestos. So I don't want to drag on. Those are some good reasons why. We'll just recap really quickly, but the labor, materials, equipment, disposal, the assessor that we have to have, overheads, and of course the replacement work at the end of the project, getting everything made good again. There you go. Look forward to coming back next week with another episode of the HazMat podcast. But for tonight, that'll do. And thank you very much. Please like and share and subscribe this video. All right, bye now.